We are all exhausted. From the moment the Industrial Revolution began, one thing remained a constant: our relentless pursuit of productivity. We've optimized workflows, adopted cutting-edge technology, and squeezed more tasks into every minute, every day. And the result, a world where the workday never really truly ends. And even in our downtime, it needs to feel productive. You see, the thing is though, we glorify the grind. We measure success by how much we can accomplish. And this non-stop hustle leads to burnout. And for some reason, it's become the norm. But what if the way we're living is fundamentally broken? Because in recent years, a pervasive sense of fatigue has swept over societies worldwide, manifesting in a phenomenon such as quiet quitting, coffee badging, bare minimum Mondays, and most notably, the Great Resignation, during which nearly 47 million people quit their jobs voluntarily. This widespread exhaustion extends far beyond this overloaded work schedule. It's now ingrained in culture. We have entered what writer and science professor Cal Newport describes as the Great Exhaustion, a period where people are re-evaluating their relationship with work to alleviate this sense of depletion. And this fatigue is evident in our daily choices. We're opting for takeout due to a lack of energy, not wanting to cook. We're seeking remote work because we just don't want those lengthy commutes, and reducing social engagements because of conflicting schedules. And we're neglecting hobbies that were once enjoyed. So a lot of this video has taken inspiration from a book I've recently read called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, which I'd highly recommend reading. But before we do that, we need to understand, how did we reach this level of exhaustion? One of the biggest reasons why we're exhausted is the sheer number of hours that we're doing. So many of us are doing 50, 60-hour work weeks. And the modern day workplace doesn't just demand this time. They demand mental availability also. You need to be proactive about every little initiative, even if you're running on empty. I remember the days where I had 4 or 5 hours worth of meetings. And I remember thinking to myself, there was barely any time to do any actual work. And every time I heard that Microsoft notification, I really did feel a deep sense of unease. And the worst part was, it's something I couldn't just switch off. It wasn't like your notifications that you just get on your phone. It's about the psychological implications of knowing that some of the tasks that we do are just not productive. And many employees realized this post 2020, when companies struggled to bring back workers back to the office. Because if productivity was higher when working from home, why return to the stress of an office? Many people reclaimed valuable hours previously lost into things like the commute, unnecessary meetings, and office distractions. This shift highlighted a preference for genuine productivity over visibility. However, some companies still want to prioritize this, equating in-person presence with productivity, a concept that Cal Newport calls pseudo-productivity. This approach assesses an employee's output based on visible activity, such as arriving early, staying late, rather than actual performance. And this emphasis fosters a culture of performative busyness, where appearing busy becomes more important than meaningful work. And companies do a great job of luring you in with bait. This bait masquerading as office perks. And you usually see this more within tech companies. Their headquarters are filled with gourmet food, on-site gyms, showers, and even laundry services, all designed to make life as convenient as possible for their employees. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch. These perks are not about being nice to their employees. They exist for a strategic reason: to keep you there for longer. Think about it. If your employee provides you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, why leave the office for food? If there's an on-site gym, you don't need to leave work on time to get a workout in. All these perks subtly blur the line between your work environment and your personal life. When we enter the workforce, many of us fall into the trap thinking that our jobs are going to provide us with any type of meaning and purpose. We expect our careers to fulfill us and to be a source of personal growth. That's not the case. But what if I told you work was never meant to fulfill you? That the modern idea of finding your purpose through your job is relatively a new concept, and one that might be holding you back. If we go back to understand work at its core, work was done for survival. That was the only goal. People hunted, foraged, and built shelters. Not because they were passionate about it, because it was a case of life or death. Fast forward to early civilizations, people farmed, built, and labored on the land. Not for personal growth, but it was their role in sustaining society. The idea that your job should be fulfilling simply didn't exist. People would dedicate their entire lives lives to one job. And then the Industrial Revolution came, and this was a turning point in the history of labour. Machines replaced craftsmen, factories replaced workshops, and people were reduced to mere cogs in a larger system. Employers weren't interested in your dreams and your fulfillment, and to some extent they aren't now really. They needed you to work long hours to generate profit. Karl Marx famously called this alienation, where workers become disconnected from the products of their labour, their fellow workers, and even themselves. And it was around this time where work became the defining aspect of a person's identity. Not because it was fulfilling, but because capitalism required it. And as economies expanded, the idea of a career took shape. People were told if they work hard, climb the corporate ladder, but even then, fulfillment wasn't the goal. Financial stability and social status was. In the 1950s and 60s, nobody was really asking, does my job make me happy? The priority was providing for a family and securing a pension. There's a book called The Burnout Society by Byung-Chul Han. I think I'm saying his name right, I might be butchering it. And he's this philosopher, and he's arguing that modern day society has shifted from external oppression to self-exploitation. And the three main takeaways I got from that book was, we are all victims of our own drive and achievements. We no longer need bosses telling us to work harder. We push ourselves even past our limits, believing that burnt out is a sign of success. The second thing I got was burnout was a result of too much freedom, not too little. In a world with strict boundaries, we feel this pressure to be consistently improving and being constantly productive. And thirdly, technology has erased the boundary between work and personal life. And this brings me back to Cal Newport's 3 principles. The first principle being, do fewer things. One of the most powerful things you hear successful people saying is the ability to say no. And as the investor Warren Buffett says, really successful people almost say no to everything. So by courageously pruning at non-essential tasks, you can protect your schedule for what truly matters. Because it's no surprise that overstuffed to-do lists have people feeling overwhelmed. In fact, having too many commitments can leave you being unproductive due to the mental stress of juggling all these tasks. Prioritize ruthlessly. When you commit to fewer things, you can give each one more attention. And you can even create rituals and build your environment around them to make deep focus easier. Maya Angelou famously wrote each morning in a sparse hotel room, away from any distractions. And this type of consistent ritual, writing in the same place at the same time, signaled to her brain that it was time to focus. And you can apply the same strategy by setting aside time each week, like having creative sessions. Find a quiet place. If you're a student, maybe it's the library. If you're at work, maybe it's a desk you don't usually sit at. And over time, this routine becomes a well-worn path into the state of flow. And Cal Newport also suggests automate to simplify. Tim Ferriss is also a fan of this, and he famously advises, never automate something that can be easily eliminated, and never delegate something that can be automated. Before taking on any task, ask yourself, can I eliminate this entirely? If not, can I automate it? If automation isn't an option, can I delegate it? By clearing mundane tasks, you can free up some hours for deep thinking and working on projects that truly move the needle. He also has a strategy for organizing your task list. He suggests having an active project list and a holding tank. Your holding tank is where everything new goes. When you write something down, it goes in the holding tank. But for the projects that you're working on, this is your active project list. There should be no more than 2 or 3 projects at a time. And when one is done, you can get rid of that and pull something from your holding tank and put that into your project list. So this helps instead of having this long, never-ending task list. Principle 2, do things at a natural pace. This quote speaks to something we all struggle with. But the truth is, rushing never really equates to quality, but instead leads to burnout, sloppy work, and frustration for not meeting expectations. Historically, people have worked with the alignment of seasons. For example, farmers would work intensely hard during planting and harvesting seasons, but they also had periods of rest during winter. There was the natural ebb and flow of their workload. In contrast, modern day culture expects us to work at full speed all year round, which isn't, my friend, sustainable. And if we take a step back, we often overestimate what we can do in a short period of time, whether it's a week or a month. But we underestimate what we can do in a longer period of time, let's say 5 years. So instead of cramming your goals in the next few weeks or months, you should really ask yourselves, what season are you in right now? Where are you in the bigger grand scheme of your timeline? When I worked as a UX designer, we followed a process called design sprints. This method allowed us to work on a project quickly, produce a prototype, test it, evaluate the results, and then iterate. The beauty of this approach is that it was balanced with speed and intentional execution. It wasn't about rushing, it was about working in structured bursts and adjusting based on the feedback. The same approach can be applied to our personal goals. If we treat our ambition like design sprints, we can break them down into cycles, executing, testing, and refining as we go. And the funny thing is, some people move too fast so they burn out, and some people move too slow so they never end up gaining any type of momentum. The key here is to find balance. It's not about how fast you go, it's about how far you can sustain the journey. And principle 3, obsess over quality. Now, because of the speed of things, quantity can sometimes outshine quality. Focusing on quality versus quantity, and successful people don't work harder, they work smarter. Take content creation for example. There are many people who focus on creating as much videos as possible, thinking that volume equates to growth. Because the most successful content creators obsess over scripting, visuals, and sound quality to make it feel as natural as possible. They're not tricking you by having these quick edits, quick sound bites, and clickbaity titles. Quality over quantity isn't just a principle, it's a mindset shift. Instead of asking how can I produce it, ask how can I make it the best that it can possibly be. When you prioritize quality, you stand out. And when you combine these 3 things, doing fewer things, working at a natural pace, obsessing over quality over quantity, you create a system for sustainable success. By doing fewer things, you eliminate distractions and only focus on what truly matters. By working at a natural pace, you can avoid burnout and give yourself time to refine and improve your craft. Just like the seasons, some periods will be intense, while others will be slower, but both are necessary for long-term growth. And by obsessing over quality, you ensure everything you create is valuable, impactful, and built to last. And when you apply these 3 principles consistently, you won't just be more productive, you will be more fulfilled, more in control, and ultimately more successful. And that brings me to a close. I really do appreciate you watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment below, let me know your thoughts. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.